All right, guys, welcome back. Hopefully, we had a great Tuesday. Monday, you obviously had a reading assignment. It was pages 44 through 60. Want to go back and look at those objectives and go through some of that reading assignment with you. Week 3, Mesopotamia and Egypt. What are the landmark contributions? How do the characteristics of government change based on the building blocks of civilization? How did the development of ancient civilizations contribute to the beliefs? And what is the significance of the domestication of plants and animals? So let us jump out of here. We're going to scroll down just a little bit. Let me get my little mask out of the way there so I can see. Here's the textbook link. Here's the username and password. We're going to jump over here. I already have that open for you. Okay, so here we are on the textbook. Remember that on the left-hand side you have all the units and then the chapters, obviously. If you scroll down here, you have multimedia by chapter. We can go, we're in chapter 2. And we can go down here to assessments. And I believe we are sections 3, 4, and 5. Sections 3, 4, and 5, you click on those and you can go to the quiz and help yourself. We want to go to page 44 to get started. So we'll type in 44 up here, hit enter. And I'm going to make this double page so we can see it and we can do our reading strategy together. What I'd like for you to look at is obviously the art. We've already talked about the art on Monday, noticing that the hunter here that's standing on the boat is the most important figure in the art. The lesser figures are the birds and the reeds, and these figures here are even less important just based on size. I mean, the size of the thing is what makes it stand out. So as we continue to look at the pictures, we're looking at the actual picture of the river itself today. Here's a map of Egypt. It's going to give us some clues into some of that geography. Western Desert is separating the Nile River Valley from most of Africa. The Eastern Desert actually then separates it further from invaders who might be coming from the Red Sea. This little corridor here is a pretty intense desert between Egypt and Syria, and then leading into Mesopotamia. There are several trade routes through here. This is kind of the last truncation or the detour of the Silk Road, which we'll continue to talk about. As we look down here, here's all the vocab that we'll see in section 3. And then we're going to go ahead and look at the headings. Kingdom on the Nile, so it's clearly on the Nile. Here's the geography. There are yearly floods that bring benefits, mainly the fertilization of the soil. We're going to look at the cataract or waterfall. These are down here in Upper Egypt, which it would seem counterintuitive that Lower Egypt is in the north and Upper Egypt is in the south, but the river actually flows northward, so that's kind of the key there. These cataracts, or aswans as they're sometimes called, are something that helps insulate Egypt from invaders that are coming down the river. Other things that we're going to see as we continue to look through here, the Mediterranean Delta. The delta is where the Nile dumps out into the Mediterranean Sea. And the kingdoms of Egypt are divided timeline-wise into the Old Kingdom. And bottom line, a strong government finally takes control. We put pharaohs into place. We create bureaucracies. Here's where we're going to see our viziers. Let us turn the page. Ptahhotep is a notable pharaoh, and his instructions of the viziers are kind of the key. He kind of tells them how to be. They have to be humble, they have to be honest, they have to be obedient. This is similar to the Assyrian law code that's put in place for the royal families. Next thing that we see in the Old Kingdom is the building of the Great Pyramids and the development of a necropolis. This is kind of a fun word. Necro means dead, and polis is a city. This is a dead city, and it's still standing today. The pyramids at Giza are still a functioning necropolis. The turbulent Middle Kingdom. The Middle Kingdom has many correlations to the United States currently. There's a lot of overspending. There was irregular weather. Some say that the irregular weather is due to the actual changes in the calendar and some of the errors that the Egyptians made in their calendars. And then finally, the overspending of the building of the pyramids kind of puts them into an economic turmoil right away. The New Kingdom then ushers in kind of a strong period. Powerful rulers are going to start to control Egypt. Hatshepsut, notable because she is a female. Thutmose III, Ramses II, pretty famous from the Easter story if you've seen that with Moses. And Egypt battles with its neighbors. You're going to see Ramses having a lot of battles with his neighbors. Additional reading that we pick up, we're going to be again looking at these pictures here. Here's a sculpture of Hatshepsut. She's the daughter of Thutmose I and wife and widow of Thutmose II and stepmother to Thutmose III. And she did rule. We do see other examples of rulers here, which becomes important. And then finally, around 1100 BC, Egypt declines, and they become displaced by the Greeks and the Romans. As we look into building the pyramids, one of the things that we look at is the A-frame. The A-frame here is part of building the pyramids and making sure that the grade is correct, and you're seeing the log method. This is the popular idea that these causeways, as we continue to roll down, the boats would bring the stone from the quarries. They would then be pulled by large amounts of slaves up these long causeways up to the pyramids, and then again up around the outside to be building the pyramids. Some of the geography of this was extremely incredible. Additional things to note when you're looking at these cities are going to pop up based on needing to serve this pyramid. And the farming that's going to be happening is going to be down here in what we would call the Black Lands. The Black Lands are right next to the Nile River itself, and they're black because of the soil that is deposited in the yearly floods of the Nile. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look back up here, and in your directions and research, you may have seen the A-frame also used in creating irrigation systems in modern day. So there's probably some correlation here to what's happening in Egypt as well. As we continue to look at Egypt, we obviously have Amen-Ra, or the sun god, and you see this as R-E or R-A, as we've talked about. Some of the other greatest gods, you can read about them here. Religion shapes life in ancient Egypt. Chief gods and goddesses, a great place to look for these and listen to their stories is on our web quest on Wednesday. Additionally, the pharaoh tries to reshape religion. Akhenaten actually becomes a heretic, one who has kind of outrageous views, and what he does is he tries to shift the focus from a polytheistic society to that of a monotheistic or somewhat monotheistic, with Ra being kind of the head god, and Atun being the minor god. Egyptians view the afterlife. They're going to build on the afterlife of the Mesopotamians heavily. Here is a page from the Book of the Dead. This is kind of a key to us. The Book of the Dead includes the negative confession below, and it says that when a person dies, as you can see in the pictures here, they're escorted by Anubis. Anubis is the jackal-headed god, and they are escorted out of their boat, which they cross the River Nile on. They then come to the weighing scale. On the left-hand side, you can see the dead person's heart, and on the right, you can see the feather of truth. And Hunefer here is the crocodile-headed god. He's waiting for someone's heart to be heavier than this feather of truth. If that happens, then he eats their heart and their soul. The god Horus, pictured here, the falcon-headed god, brings the person to Osiris. Osiris is the risen god or father of Horus, and his wife Isis, and there's going to be a judgment. So we're kind of seeing this idea of a judgment day entering in here, and what they have to confess, or the confession of the person who's dead, is, I have caused none to feel pain, I have made no man to weep, I have not committed murder, I have not stolen from the orchards, nor have I trampled down the fields. I have not turned back the water at its springtide. I am pure, I am pure, I am pure. And again, this is the prayer that hopefully gets you into the afterlife. As we continue to look at our pre-reading strategy here, we're going to see mummification. There's some great links out there for mummification. If you want to go and actually mummify online, you're welcome to do so. Talks about preparing the dead. Mummification is preservation of the dead's body so that they can make the journey. Some have talked about the pyramids kind of greeting the sunshine, and then that person making the travel into the afterlife every day. Here's a portrait of Tutankhamun. I have a couple books here. One I've been using for you guys to see at the beginning of these videos. This will be available in class if you want to look at it. Also going to borrow a pop-up book that my wife has gotten for her 6th graders. It's got great information. It's quick information, and we can use that. As we continue on, we're going to see changes to the social structure. Most people were farmers. The farmers actually in the off season were working on the pyramids. Egyptian women enjoyed higher status. We're going to see women kind of making more of a comeback, or more of an influential role in history than we previously thought. Some key things that we're looking at as far as writing: we have hieroglyphics. These are shapes and images that represent sound, and they kind of tell a story. The other thing you're going to see here is the hieratic. Hieratics are symbols. This is going to be more like a cursive version of the hieroglyphic symbol. And then demotic, we're going to kind of compare that to T9 word. These things are written on papyrus. Additionally, we're looking for clues. How do we figure out how to read hieroglyphics? Well, that is through the deciphering of the Rosetta Stone. Furthering science and mathematics, great additions that are made, and this picture is pretty outstanding to me. Here is a prosthetic toe that has been placed on someone who has had a toe injury, either working or in battle or whatever it is. So as you can see, the medical portion, or the medical understanding of the Egyptians, is quite sound. As we continue working through our reading assignment, we're going to see some of the arts. We're going to see some jewelry. We're going to see some pottery, definitely sculptures. And then we're going to jump over here to a little known group that kind of pops up in ancient Egypt and ties in with Egypt. And this is Judaism. Judaism is the precursor to modern Jewish faith and is the father faith to Christianity. These people are monotheistic. They're persecuted by the Egyptians. They call their homeland Israel. We're looking at the Dead Sea Scrolls here. These are some findings, additional Bible type writings that have been found. The Jewish Bible is actually called the Old Testament, or portions of the Old Testament. The first 5 books of that are the Torah. Moses is a key figure, David, Solomon. And then what we get is kind of this patriarchal society, or father-run society, that has a covenant with God. Abraham is the one who accepts the covenant, and essentially this group talks about laws and morality. We get ideas like the 10 Commandments. We have a Sabbath, or a rest day, teaching an ethical worldview. We have prophets, ethics. Jews maintain their beliefs over time. What this means is that they kind of hold their beliefs even though they become prisoners and slaves in other traditions. And then we have large amounts of writing that are accredited to the Jews, and a lot of good advice. This ends your reading assignment. If you have any questions about the reading assignment, feel free to ask them in class. And we'll be continuing on Wednesday to work on your note guides. You can use the text, you can use the WebQuest. There's all kinds of good stuff out there for you to figure out what it is that we need in our note guides. And on Thursday, then, we'll start writing our Hammurabi's Code.